The views or opinions expressed on Ann Arbor Inclusive do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the City of Ann Arbor and the Commission on Disability Issues. For more information about the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, please visit a2gov.org/disability resources.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive. I'm Zach Damon. We have a wonderful show for you today as NWBA player Paul Schulte joins us live at Chrysler Center. So first of all, I want to thank you for being on the show. I mean, this is great. Paul, you've just done so much, throughout your career and of course throughout your life. And, I was fascinated when I was doing some research about you because you began playing wheelchair basketball at age 14. And I really would like to know, what was it originally that fascinated you about the sport?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. Thanks
Sure.
for having me on. It's great to be here each year, and it's awesome to be on the campus and in Ann Arbor. So I guess what I would say is that what fascinated me about wheelchair basketball at first, you actually have to take a step back and say when I was first invited to play, I turned it down. I had a little bit of a negative stereotype about adaptive sports, and I didn't think it was going to be very athletic, and I didn't think it was going to be very competitive. And so I turned down my first opportunities to experience it. And then I finally accepted an invitation to attend a men's wheelchair basketball practice here in Ann Arbor. And when I came in, there were a few players right off the bat that kind of shattered the stereotypes that I had in my mind. One was a double amputee named Chris Lenzo, well known around this area. And he could do a cartwheel with his chair strapped to him. He could hit three-pointers. He could play against able bodies. He was so fast. And so right off the bat, meeting him, I was like, wow, this is going to be way different than I thought. And then I fell in love with the sport, just of how fast it is amongst the elite players, and the opportunities that lie within the sport captivated me. So I had in a sense, I got hurt with a spinal cord injury when I was 10, and some of the dreams that I had for myself seemed out of reach, but I was very blessed to have the opportunity to still get recruited.
Yeah.
I had the experience of being recruited to a college program, and I had the experience of being a college athlete and then eventually traveling around the world. So the sport has given a lot to me.
Well, and that's amazing, and I think you've given a lot back to the sport, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But an interesting fact about you, too, is that you were born here in Ann Arbor, and you sort of grew up in this city. And for those that have never been to Ann Arbor or visited Ann Arbor, but they've heard of the name, know of the city, why should people come visit Ann Arbor?
There's a culture and a history here that's combined with kind of a fresh perspective on what's possible. I guess if I tried to summarize what I feel about Ann Arbor, that's what I feel. I'm always excited to come here because I know there's always going to be an opportunity to try a new restaurant or a different food. And then at the heart of it is the University of Michigan and everything that is the rich tradition that goes along with this university. And so that's a pretty magnetic combo.
Yeah, sure.
To draw people here.
Definitely. And you talked in your earlier response about initially when you were getting involved as a youth in wheelchair basketball, how you really didn't think it would be competitive. You really thought it wouldn't be something that you'd be interested in, but you have a big passion now about bringing youth into the sport of wheelchair basketball.
Sure.
So can you talk about why that's important to you?
For me as a young athlete, I was, basketball sport was like the candy. Like that was the candy that got me here. Once I realized that it was everything that I wanted in able-bodied sports before I got hurt, then it was like the candy that got me here. And along the way, all the things that I picked up, I met positive role models that had spouses, had children, had jobs, had played great athletics. They were doing all the things that people had told me was possible in my life, but until I saw real life examples of people living the future that I wanted to live, then all of the good black and white advice I had received kind of went into full color, and I was like, now I can see the path that I wanted, and my grades went up, my health went up, and all aspects of my life got better from being involved in something like this. And so that's what I really hope for future generations is, that with modern technology of being able to be. Had I had YouTube and saw
Sure.
these athletes right off the bat, would I have been more receptive to it? Maybe.
Sure.
And so it's great to be involved with the outreaches and the Paralympic movement these days.
That's great. But what do you say to a lot of the youth right now that are sort of looking for a sport and they're in a chair, but they don't really know much about wheelchair basketball? Why should they get involved?
Well, wheelchair basketball is a great sport because there's lots of teams throughout the country, and there's a lot of opportunity to travel and to go experience different places. Also, what I like about wheelchair basketball a lot is that it's been integrated into around 10 different colleges around the country.
Wow.
Yep, everywhere from University of Alabama to University of Illinois. There's some of the biggest colleges that have teams, and so I guess the influence that it provided for me to get my education, to go on and graduate from college, and to live my life the way I wanted to live it was great.
Sure.
I would also say that if basketball is not your thing, that's okay.
Yeah.
I've had wonderful people in my life that were athletes, and then wonderful people that pursued whatever they were most passionate about. And so sometimes going through some true adversity in your life, something like a debilitating injury or disease,
Right.
can have a really, really profound impact on you. It can be really hard. And when the time is right for you to reconnect with something you're passionate about,
Right.
and let it bring some joy into your life, something that you can work hard on and get better at, then that's a great thing to be part of, especially when it brings in good role models that encourage you and provide positive feedback.
No, definitely. And I mean, I think, for the youth out there watching this, hopefully they can get involved in some sort of sport. Well, whether it's wheelchair basketball or whether it's any other sport. And
there's a lot of them these days.
Yeah, and be able to, gain the same sort of things that you gained as a youngster, playing the sport. And, it was interesting. You talked about the schools that have a scholarship wheelchair basketball program. I mean, would you like Michigan to have that in the future?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, the school itself has so many things to offer.
Sure.
And I think there are several universities throughout the country that look at it and go, yeah, that would, when the right opportunity comes along for us to have something like that, we want to have something like that, because it's something to take pride in, and the athletes that come and come through the program are phenomenal. They're incredible individuals, and so yes, in short, I think that would be absolutely phenomenal for the University of Michigan to have it. And I believe that when the time is right and circumstances are set, that someday they will.
Wonderful. Now, an interesting fact about you too, you recently were in Rio, and you were a commentator for the wheelchair basketball teams in Rio. So talk about that experience. What was that like, and how was it?
Well, I was involved with the national team for 18 years, and I was very fortunate to be able to make my first team when I was 18. The group that I first met here in Ann Arbor helped teach me the game, helped me work really hard, and I first made the team when I was 18, and then in January of this year, 2016, I retired as an athlete. So I had 18 years in on the national team, and it was a long, difficult decision, but when I made it, I feel good about it. I feel like it's the right decision for me and my family. And then I got an email a couple weeks after from NBC saying, would you be interested in doing color commentary of the Paralympics?
That's great.
And I was like, holy cow, that makes me nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I went, I auditioned. They provided some training for me to learn a little bit more how to do it, and then I studied a bunch leading up to the Paralympics, and had a wonderful time. Both the men's and women's team both won gold, completing actually Olympic and Paralympic now.
Wow.
The men's able-bodied Olympians,
Yep.
women able-bodied Olympians, and then both of the wheelchair teams all won gold. So it's the first time in history
that is amazing.
that gold medals were run all around, and it was really neat to have a small part to play in it.
That's right. Go USA.
Yes,
that is
awesome.
That is amazing.
Definitely.
So I mean, will you continue to do some broadcasting? Is that sort of in your future?
You know what? I'd never thought about it before, but I had a great time doing it, and I enjoy the athletes so much in the Paralympic movement. It was a huge honor to be able to try my best to convey my excitement and my passion for those athletes and what they were accomplishing. So if I got to ask to do it again, I think I'd happily say yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. And I mean, congratulations on that opportunity.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And so you kind of answered the other question that I had for you in your earlier response. You said you retired this year. And of course, I was going to talk about how, you were a 5-time MVP. in the National Wheelchair Basketball Association. You've won 4 championships as a player with the Dallas Mavericks and that team.
Yeah.
And so can you talk about in your career, because you've done so much. I mean, you've won medals overseas, you've won gold medals, you've won bronze with the U.S. at the Paralympics. So can you single out one moment to you that really sticks out as the best moment?
Ooh, that's a really good question. There's a couple different ones. I certainly had and I'll try to be brief and,
Sure.
and summarize those. But in
Yeah.
the year 2000, I was a young player on the team, and I got the ball at half court with kind of the clock running out, and I was able to hit a 3-pointer that helped win the game and secure the bronze medal that year. And that was certainly like such a highlight moment, such an exciting thing to celebrate with your team like that. And then I think comes kind of full circle back to London in 2012. You know, having my wife and my son there,
Yep.
and having a big, strong effort at the end of the Paralympics to bring home a bronze and to be able to share that with them was magic.
That's
It was absolute
great.
magic to be able to have them in London. So those two stick out a lot to me. And then I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, hearing your country's national anthem after you've sacrificed so much and worked so hard to represent your country. That certainly gets your heart pounding like nothing else.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. That's amazing. So, last couple questions for you.
Sure.
So, number one, talk about sort of now what your plan is, after basketball, and then also, if you can, do you have any words of wisdom for future athletes out there, and really in your mind, what is sort of the recipe for that success?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, I think those closest to me have encouraged me to continue to do what I'm passionate about. So while I'm not a member of the national team and actively trying to make the next Paralympics, I'll continue to play. So I'll continue to play for. I'll be playing for the Miami Heat Wheels,
Okay.
the team affiliated with the NBA Miami Heat.
Sure.
And we'll play some tournaments this year.
Cool.
And I enjoy meeting the next generation. And so being able to play with them, pass along any tips or bits of experience
Sure.
is a joy to me. I work for Invacare Top End as an engineer,
Sure.
and so continuing to design and work with athletes is a great joy of mine as well. And then attending my son's BMX races and be with my family is certainly what I love. So I think that as far as advice that I have. To me, I've said it before, and I still feel it as strongly as I did then, that if I could go back and whisper over my own shoulder when I was 10 years old, that if I had an opportunity to whisper over my own shoulder, I would say every dream you ever had can still come true. Mm. And I feel passionate about that because I know how true that was. And
Sure.
so I would say that, hey, don't ever be discouraged by the road that's right in front of you, or continue to stay close to people that you love the most.
Yeah.
Find the things that you're most passionate about. Set yourself a goal, and then go chase it and get it, because it's possible.
Okay. Wonderful. And really quick, if we can, just say why the Army-Navy wheelchair basketball game for you is something that you mark on your calendar, and why people should come next year.
Well, I enjoy this game a lot. It has some very good organizers that have great hearts, and they do it for the right reason. And then the University of Michigan has gotten behind it and given it a home here at Chrysler Arena, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be here to celebrate Disability Awareness Month, and do it with some of our servicemen and women that sacrifice so much for our country. So it's a thrill to be part of. It has a great people part of it, and we do our best to put on a good show each year.
There we go. Well, good luck today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank Paul for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the program. Be sure to tune into Ann Arbor Inclusive next month. And as always, stay awesome, Ann Arbor.